Before we begin, if you've ever faced a moment where you had to choose between your family and your child's safety, you'll understand what this story is about. If you've ever been told you're overreacting when your gut said otherwise, this is for you. Please like this video, subscribe if you enjoy true, personal stories, and drop a comment at the end. What would you do in my place? Now, here's what happened. My name is Jessica Monroe. I'm 36 years old, a wife, and more importantly, a mother to a 16-year-old daughter named Lily. She's my world. Smart, artistic, fiercely observant, and just starting to dip her toes into that awkward but beautiful phase of teen independence. I've always told myself I'm not an overbearing parent, just a protective one. And maybe that line blurred recently, because this July 4th, I made a decision that's shaken my entire family to its core. I told my husband we are not going to my sister-in-law's annual Independence Day celebration. Not this year. Not while her new boyfriend, Alex Peters, will be there. Now, let me rewind. My husband Daniel and I have been married for 12 years. He's a good man, loyal, level-headed, most of the time. But we have very different styles when it comes to risk. I worry, I dig into the details. He brushes things off as just life. And for most of our marriage, we've managed to find balance between that. Until now. Daniel's younger sister, Rachel Monroe, 29, is the kind of person who lives in fast forward. She gets excited about things quickly: jobs, trips, relationships. I've seen her go from first date to he's the one in 2 weeks. It's just who she is. She met Alex in March. The next thing we knew, they were inseparable. He's 25, quiet, polite on the surface, and to most of the family, pretty unremarkable. I met him for the first time on Memorial Day at Rachel's lake house. It was the usual get-together: grilled food, beers, lawn chairs, kids splashing near the dock. But something about Alex struck me wrong immediately. He didn't really engage with the family. Barely made eye contact. Every time Lily walked past, I noticed his eyes lingered just a second too long. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. But I've spent 16 years learning how to read people, especially the ones who look at my daughter. That evening, Lily mentioned offhandedly that Alex had asked her about her school. Nothing inappropriate, but odd, since they'd never been introduced. Something didn't sit right. A week later, I casually brought it up to Rachel while we were on the phone, just asked how things were going. She hesitated, then said, "Yeah, look, I was actually going to talk to the family about something soon." What she said next nearly made me drop the phone. Alex was on the sex offender registry. She said it happened a while ago, and she made it sound like a misunderstanding. But I needed details. Real ones. Rachel was defensive, said it was from 3 years ago, and that it was complicated. I pressed. She finally admitted that he'd been convicted for an incident involving a minor, a teen girl, drugged and assaulted at a party. She insisted he was young. It was one stupid mistake. He's changed. I couldn't breathe. Lily is 16, the same age as his victim. And Rachel wanted us all to sit around a fire pit with him like he was just another cousin's plus one? I told Daniel that night. His reaction? A long sigh. "Babe, I get it, but it's not like he's gonna do anything at a family gathering." I stared at him, stunned. "You're okay with our daughter being around a man convicted of raping a teenager?" He rubbed his forehead. "I'm not saying I like it, Jess. But Rachel's vouching for him. He served his time. It's been 3 years." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. From that moment on, I knew I was alone in this. And I also knew my daughter was not going to that celebration. Period. I told Lily everything in a careful, age-appropriate way. I explained who Alex was, why I didn't feel safe with her around him, and that we'd be skipping the July 4th party this year. To my relief, she nodded. "Thanks for telling me, Mom. I don't want to go either." That one sentence gave me strength. The rest of the family? Not so understanding. Rachel called me 2 days later, angry, defensive, crying. "You're judging him without even knowing him." I replied calmly, "I don't need to know him. I read the charges. That's enough for me. My daughter's safety isn't up for debate." She said I was trying to ruin the family weekend and turn people against her. Then Daniel's parents got involved. His mother, Joanne, texted me a long message about how everyone deserves a second chance and God teaches us to forgive. I told her I could forgive from a distance. But I wasn't letting Lily anywhere near Alex. Now, it's July 3rd. Daniel hasn't spoken to me since yesterday morning. He said I'm creating unnecessary drama. Said I'm making our daughter afraid of someone who hasn't even looked at her the wrong way. I almost laughed at that because isn't that always how it starts? When the predator seems normal. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, if something were to happen to Lily, and I knew this in advance and still brought her into that situation, I would never forgive myself. He didn't respond. Just walked out of the room. So here I am. Writing this with my daughter curled up on the couch beside me, watching fireworks from a live stream. We're safe. We're together. And yes, I'm scared that this might be the beginning of something bigger. A fracture in my marriage. A permanent rift with my in-laws. But I won't apologize for protecting my child. Still the guilt is creeping in, the isolation. The maybe I overreacted. The second guessing. I need to know, am I the asshole? Refusing to take my daughter to a family celebration because of who will be there? Or am I the only one who sees how insane it is to let a known predator into the middle of our family gathering and pretend everything's fine? The morning of July 4th felt heavier than it should have. The heat outside was stifling, but inside the house, the tension was suffocating. Daniel barely spoke to me. He paced back and forth, clearly frustrated, while I tried to stay calm, folding Lily's laundry in the living room. All I could focus on was that my daughter was safe and with me. Finally, Daniel stopped pacing and muttered, "So that's it? You're really not coming?" I looked up at him and said firmly no. And neither is Lily. He rubbed his temples as if I was the unreasonable one. "Jessica, you're blowing this way out of proportion. It's just one day." I shook my head, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's not just one day, Daniel. It's about who we let around Lily. A man convicted of raping a teenager, our daughter's age, should not be at the same party. Not under any circumstances." He sighed deeply. "Rachel says he's changed. He served his time. We can't just treat him like a monster forever." I wanted to scream. This isn't about forgiveness. It's about safety. About protecting my daughter. He looked away, and the silence between us grew thick. I could see the frustration in his eyes, but I could also see the fear, maybe of conflict, maybe of losing the family's approval. Later that afternoon, Rachel called. Her voice was shaky, borderline angry. "You're tearing the family apart, Jessica. You're judging Alex without even knowing him. You're trying to ruin our holiday." I took a deep breath. "Rachel, I don't need to know him. I know the charges. I know what he did. And I'm not risking Lily's safety. That's non-negotiable." She yelled, "You're selfish. You're making this about you instead of the family." I felt my own anger bubble up, but I stayed calm. "I'm making this about my daughter's safety. If you want to pretend it's not real, that's on you." Word spread quickly. Daniel's parents, Joanne and Michael, got involved. Joanne sent me a long message about second chances, forgiveness, and how God teaches mercy. I replied gently but firmly that forgiveness can wait, but I'm not inviting danger into my home. That night, Daniel and I didn't speak. The distance between us felt wider than ever. I lay awake wondering if I was breaking my family, or if they were breaking me by asking me to ignore what I knew. The next day, the family party went on without us. Lily and I stayed home, watching the fireworks from our living room window, the distant booms echoing like painful reminders. Daniel later told me the celebration was tense. Rachel barely spoke to him, and the atmosphere was heavy. Some relatives sided with me, others called me paranoid. The divide was real. But no matter what anyone said, I knew I made the right call. Because the most important thing to me was clear. My daughter's safety will always come before family drama. And if that means standing alone, so be it.